Hello, welcome. This is part two of the segment of Woman, You Are a God. Let us make man in our own image. Part two. Thank you so much for joining us for part two. I am Omiinka7 and I will be your host for this afternoon. I want to thank you for being a part of part one. It was taken from our segment of reordering the marriage vows of the African American for the 21st century, and we still are reordering the marriage vow for the African American, and we will be doing so for a while. We want to make sure that our Black people, our Indigenous people, know that marriage is honorable. We want to make sure that they understand that it's okay to wed yourself, but also give yourself some time to do a trial marriage. And we've been talking about trial marriages and the benefit of a trial marriage. We also would like to say that Nina Simone was very much into wedding and being a part of a holy matrimony. She did believe in marriage, and I think she would really support us in our effort to talk about marriage. She was very much into family. Her mother and her brothers and her were very close, and her father, and she came from a musically inclined family. I understand through looking at some of her history that she started music at an early age when she was sort of like a toddler. She was implementing notes like ha 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 ha, ha ha ha, la 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 la. She was able to mimic notes, and she was very much in love with life, and she loved the youngsters. She oftentimes set aside time so that she could talk to the younger people and talk to them about their concerns and about life in general. And she oftentimes spoke to young couples and had special sessions that were privately set aside for her young people. So I know she would very much want to talk about marriage relationship. Let me take my coat off here. We just coming in, and it's a little chilly. But I like to say for the record that I do believe in marriage, and I think marriage is honorable. And my family and I were working with the young girls to prepare them for getting engaged and getting married. I was actually bestowed to a young man to marry him, and I didn't know that my hand was given to him in marriage, and he came for me, and I didn't know anything about it. But he knew how our family operated, that we were all preparing these 11 girls to be prepared for marriage, and even if they had to give our hand in marriage. So I come from a very, very traditional family that believed in marriage, even though we were Native American style people. We believed in the honorableness of marriage. One thing I'd like to talk about this afternoon and reserve time for is to talk about not only just marriage. You have to have a relationship first before you can even think you can tolerate a person long enough to be married to them. You have to have a high tolerance for people, and you have to be willing to forgive and not to take everything to heart. Some people who are so self-centered that they think it's all about them and they don't know how to forgive, then it's going to be a very rough hill for you, up a hill for you, and a tough journey, because you got to learn how to, as fast as you get angry, that you get over it, forgive the person, and go on, and don't hold it against them. But our getting ready for marriage preparation program, it comes from the fact that my profession is in family life education, and to focus in on family and on the children. And I sincerely believe that the whole purpose of a marriage is to center yourself and to find your right responsibility, so that you can engage in knowing what to do with the children in the family, knowing what the wife and the husband are supposed to be doing, and all of this works together for a better lifestyle for you. But you certainly cannot be just engaging yourself in a self-centered relationship for yourself. Marriage is not intended just for you, it's for the other person as well. Now, I do want to say that There are no matches made in heaven. All of the relationship and the zodiac signs, you have to struggle to get along with people. You might have some commonalities where your signs are closely knitted together because you're side by side. Then you might have some because you're distant, but you still have to learn to get along with people no matter what your zodiac sign is. And you don't go throwing that in there and say, we don't even get along. We are the opposite marriage. We are the opposite zodiac sign. We should get a divorce. No, that's not a reason to get a divorce. Okay. When you make that decision to get a divorce, it probably is going to be over finance. And I was told romance cannot exist without finance. And if you got a bad financial situation, you're going to have some romance problem. You're going to want to throw somebody out, make somebody get a job. You're going to want somebody to bring something to the table. So there's a commitment with both of your investment. But you cannot have a relationship that's on shaky ground where there's not enough funds to meet your obligation of your utility bill, your rent, your car note, insurance. All these things have to be lined up. And I say it would take about 5 years before you can line all these things up. That's why I'm recommending a trial marriage. Now, you ask, where did the trial marriage come from? I read up on the history of what happened to Joseph and Mary. And I adapted that trial marriage into my curriculum, and it's a part of my curriculum. And by the way, I am a licensed minister. I can marry, bury, and baptize. So I could marry you if you would like me to. And you can use the trial marriage process, because that's what I intend to counsel people on, getting involved with the trial marriage and coaching them and working with them through that 5 years. They're not going to be alone. They would have me to support them and other counselors to support them. And I could also be there after the 5-year trial to help them to transition into a traditional marriage where they get a marriage certificate. I'm not talking against marriages. I'm not of the persuasion that I don't want you to get a traditional license. All things need to have a license to make you committed. You know, the sign and the statement, he's got papers on her. We know that people won't act right unless you got papers on them. That's why I say in the trial marriage, draw up a set of papers. Let your mentor, your counselor sign off on them, and let there be a third will, 3 people signing off on them. So there is a meeting of the mind that you didn't just do this in the audience of your spouse or your significant other. There was a third will there that witnessed this, that you committed to, saying that you were going to fulfill these things in your spiritual guide. Now, I'm saying that that I believe that in the trial marriage that you can have a counselor help you through those first 5 years. And if someone said, well, but you're not married and you're shacking, no, you're common law and you're building all your assets together. You might even become incorporated together, an LLC. You might put together your business together and put money aside for those children to be, the ones that haven't come yet. You might even set up your insurance policies with each other as the beneficiary. And at the same time, you might even aspire to buy some property together in your name, so that when the wife does go home and sit at home to start appropriating having children, you have something invested in, you have property together. So this helps you with your financial, because we know without a stable financial, there is no marriage, because marriage is based on a stable financial background. Because when a man sees a woman that he wants to marry, he must have some ducats set aside. In the African faith, they believe that you would serenade the woman and bring some of these gifts to the family as if you're buying the